It is a curious thing. This cinematic venture known as Those Who Wish Me Dead, a neo-Western thriller transplanted from the familiar arid plains into the labyrinthine tinderbox of the Montana wilderness. Directed by Taylor Sheridan, a filmmaker whose name has become synonymous with a certain brand of grim, grounded American grit, the film attempts to weave together threads of high-stakes conspiracy, profound personal trauma, and the elemental, indifferent wrath of nature itself. It feels, at once, like a throwback to the rugged, star-driven action vehicles of the 1990s and a somewhat simplified entry in Sheridan's own canon of complex, morally ambiguous narratives. At the heart of the maelstrom is Hannah Faber, portrayed by Angelina Jolie in a role that consciously strips away her usual glamour, replacing it with the hardened shell of a woman defined by failure. Hannah is a smoke jumper, an elite wildland firefighter, but her recent history is stained by the unshakable guilt of a catastrophic fire in which she failed to save 3 young campers and a colleague. This professional devastation has exiled her to a lonely fire lookout tower, a perch of self-inflicted penance and perpetual vigilance over the vast, unforgiving Montana expanse. Her days are a boozy, listless rhythm of duty and self-loathing, until the day the human element, far more malevolent than any natural disaster, crashes into her isolated existence. The catalyst for the film's frantic collision course is a young boy named Connor Casserly. His father, Owen, a forensic accountant, has stumbled upon a political and financial conspiracy so toxic that it has already claimed the lives of his boss and his family in a calculated, terrifying explosion, the signature of highly efficient, chillingly professional assassins. On the run, Owen seeks refuge with his brother-in-law, Ethan Sawyer, a deputy sheriff in Park County. Yet, the sanctuary is breached before they can reach it. The 2 assassins, Jack and Patrick, men whose suits and composure stand in stark contrast to the rough-hewn backdrop, ambush father and son on the winding mountain roads. Owen is brutally dispatched, but not before he manages to entrust Connor with the crucial, incriminating evidence. The boy flees into the dense, unforgiving forest, a tiny, terrified soul carrying a world-ending secret. It is in the wilderness that Connor and Hannah's desperate paths intersect. Hannah, a woman whose life is currently defined by an inability to save, suddenly finds a profound, immediate need to protect. This dynamic, the damaged rescuer finding unexpected redemption in the guardianship of an innocent victim, is the emotional spine of the film. Their perilous journey to safety becomes a 2-front war, one against the relentless, cold-blooded efficiency of the assassins, and the other against the escalating, all-consuming inferno deliberately ignited by Jack and Patrick as a lethal, all-encompassing diversion. The fire, in fact, is not merely a backdrop. It is a primal, secondary antagonist, a spectacle of elemental chaos that Sheridan utilizes to stunning, suffocating effect. As the flames consume the forest, whipping up dry lightning storms and creating a wall of smoke and heat, the film achieves its most visceral sense of peril. The air itself becomes an enemy, and the vast, beautiful wilderness transforms into a death trap. This is where the film's cinematography shines, showcasing the terrifying beauty of a land ablaze, making the human struggle against the assassins feel terrifyingly insignificant beneath the roar of the conflagration. Simultaneously, the narrative branches out to the parallel struggle of Ethan Sawyer and his wife, Allison, who is several months pregnant. Allison, confronted by the assassins at her isolated home, proves to be an unexpectedly formidable, resourceful character. Her fight for survival, even as her husband is drawn into the woods by the killers as a reluctant guide, adds a compelling layer of domestic grit and heroism. Ethan, meanwhile, is forced to navigate the burning forest with the men who are hunting his own nephew, a situation dripping with taut, agonizing suspense. As the separate storylines converge on Hannah's fire tower, the film hurtles towards a fiery, explosive climax. Hannah must deploy every ounce of her smoke jumper training, not just in survival, but in fighting the flames, to protect Connor. The assassins, methodical to the end, find their calculated villainy tested not just by the unexpected resilience of their targets, but by the sheer, unpredictable terror of the natural disaster they unleashed. Ultimately, Those Who Wish Me Dead is a film about purification by fire, both literal and metaphorical. Hannah finds her salvation not in erasing her past failure, but in decisively succeeding in the present, confronting both the professional killers and the natural disaster with a newfound, fierce commitment. Connor, having witnessed unimaginable evil, is granted a chance at a future, shielded by the sacrifice and bravery of strangers. While some critics found the film's narrative slightly thin on the detailed, socio-political complexity often present in Sheridan's screenplays, the MacGuffin of the incriminating evidence remains purposefully vague. The film operates on the raw, immediate level of a survival thriller. It is a taut, spectacular cinematic experience, where the greatest threat is not always the man with a gun, but the raging, indifferent heart of the wild. It is a story told with a kinetic sense of urgency and a palpable admiration for the rugged, flawed individuals who dare to stand against overwhelming odds, both human and elemental.